Last week, we talked about Joseph's wild life story. His brothers were jealous and did some terrible things to him. Lots of terrible things happened to Joseph. But God redeemed those bad things and used them for good. God brought Joseph to a place of power where he ended up saving all of the people, including his own brothers. He said, "What you meant for evil, God used for good." All of Joseph's family moved to Egypt, and the family grew and grew. And that's where our story starts today.
After Joseph moved his family to Egypt, the family grew larger until hundreds of thousands of Israelites lived there. A new king, called Pharaoh, rose to power in Egypt. He didn't know anything about Joseph or his family. He became nervous that there were so many Israelites in the land. He was afraid that if the Israelites decided to team up with Egypt's enemies, his land would be in trouble. He began to do whatever he could to try to stop the Israelites. First, he made them slaves. He made them do extremely hard work. They had to build cities, make bricks, and work hard in the fields. The Israelites were no longer free. They were miserable. Even though this was terrible and the Israelites didn't understand what was happening, God had said long ago that this would occur.
Time out. God knew his people were going to be slaves in Egypt? Yep. In fact, he had told Abraham hundreds of years before that his people would be slaves for 400 years. God knew what was going to happen, and he already had a plan for rescuing his people.
Pharaoh's plan didn't work. The hard labor didn't keep the Israelite families from growing. Pharaoh was still afraid, so he made a new plan. He commanded that every Egyptian citizen throw any Israelite baby boy into the Nile River. At this time, Amram and Jochebed were married. They were an Israelite family. They had a little girl named Miriam and a son named Aaron. Jochebed had another baby boy. She knew Pharaoh's law. She also knew that Egyptians everywhere might see that she had a baby and act on Pharaoh's command. But she loved her baby boy and could tell he was very special. She couldn't do what Pharaoh had said. She decided to hide her baby.
Back to that thing about God having a plan. What Jochebed didn't know was that this baby was part of God's plan to rescue his people from Egypt. Pharaoh was not only trying to harm the Israelites, but his commands were trying to stop God's plan. But God's plan is unstoppable.
After about 3 months, Jochebed couldn't hide the baby any longer. She made a basket out of the bulrushes and waterproofed it with tar and pitch. She laid her baby boy in the basket and hid it among the reeds along the river bank. The baby boy's sister hid, watching from a distance. Very soon, the daughter of the Pharaoh came to the river. She saw the basket and sent her servant girl to pick it up. Imagine her surprise when she opened it and found a crying baby. "This is one of the Israelites' children," she said. Right away, the baby's sister had an idea. She came out of her hiding place and said, "Shall I find a Hebrew mother to help you with the baby?" "Yes," said Pharaoh's daughter. "Go." The sister ran and got her own mother. The baby was able to stay with his family until he got older. Not only did God rescue Moses, he sent him back to his family to live for a few years. When the child grew older, his mother brought him to Pharaoh's daughter, and he became her son. She named him Moses.
God had a great plan for this baby. When he grew up, God used him to rescue all of the Israelite people. Pharaoh's law could have killed him and destroyed God's plan. God's ultimate plan is to bring his people who are away from him back to himself. God's plan is unstoppable. God made a way for baby Moses to be rescued and for his plan to continue. Pharaoh tried to have all of the baby boys killed. Did you know that King Herod did the same thing when Jesus was born? But God's plan is unstoppable. Moses was rescued so that God could use him to rescue the Israelites from slavery in Egypt. Jesus was rescued from Herod as a baby so that he could grow up and rescue us from our sins. God's plan was for Jesus to die on the cross to make a way for us to be forgiven and to live with him forever. God's plan is unstoppable.